as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning, if I can make sense of these headphones, February 12th year 2024 on a Monday morning, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Hello show that's been on there since 1984. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there to make it your business to enhance and fortify the concept of public access. You have to excuse my messy hair. I didn't even get the chance to tidy up, even though there's no possibility or ability to tidy up for whatever that means. Just going to be just the way it is, no matter what. So, as I said, February 12th, year 2024, on a Monday morning. And of course, we don't want to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course, the likes of you out there to make it your business to enhance and fortify the concept of public access. And rightfully so, in times like these, as the world is experiencing the putting it mildly, ups and downs. Putting it mildly, ups and downs. And we want to do this right. Okay, I think it's good. I think this is pretty good, no? I think if I was to do this, it's even better. My morning coffee. So, yeah, I was supposed to have a guest this morning that's not going to show up. But just wanted to see what this is. There's some good stuff here, man. Lots of good things. Just wanted to see if I can add some music later on. Okay. Maybe? Really? No way. Really? How about this? Let's see if this means anything.
No lo ha pensado.
This is actually anyway, I'm spending too much time with this, but all I wanted to do is really go to this here and this here and this here, and that's all I wanted to do really. And then I kind of, yeah, I can start with this, I love it. Anyway, now I can keep this for later. Monday morning, February 12th, year 2024. And boy, oh boy, do I have reservations, contemplations over the weekend. I've been sitting and creating and writing and reading. I just finished a wonderful book that was inspiring and also challenging in the level of sadness and tragedy that was involving the book that I read. But still, nevertheless, I found myself in front of the creations that I'm responsible for. Now and then, I find myself in such a tight spot where I can't stand my over the top creativity. and then suddenly everything kind of looks like it needs help, like I don't like it anymore. Like, what am I doing? What am I all about? What is the clear vision that I so rave about to myself, that it's so clear to me? How come it's so blurry, and how come they're just ups and downs, and why should there be ups and downs? What is it called? Is it cold and hot and hot and cold? And there's always a point where we just like want to let go, especially in a time where it's crucial not to let go. In my eyes, it's crucial not to let go ever, even though we need the break, But with me, I managed along the years to insert the aspect of having a break and pausing while I'm in the midst of that engagement that sometimes testing me, and so much more really, and and injecting all these question marks that for the most part I could do without. But we're only human beings. But so I do wonder about when I personally look into my artwork and my creations, and suddenly I see some incredible things that for some reason just suddenly reveal themselves to me. I can look at a piece that I create 100 times, and then suddenly it just dawns on me the extent of that limitation that I have, which I accept, that I don't really get to see everything so instantly. Even when I go and attend art shows and exhibitions and whatnot, and I look and I learn that, and I realize that I approach my experience to be in a way that I want to really appreciate the choice of color, appreciate the basic composition, appreciate goodwill. That when I look at it, it's the first thing that I look for. The, the gestures of goodwill by the artist through the painting itself. So much so that I really forget to see the whole picture as far as, okay, what's hiding there? Because even if the work is super realistically modern uh, and modernistic, real, kind of, there's still this abstract into it in certain, I kind of, my eye tracks this down, and then I rest for sometimes even too long to just dwell into that which is familiar to me, and then I lose track of the shape of the image, of the drawing aspect of it, of the process of putting a face to it, and so suddenly someone next to me would say, "Oh, something," and I said, oh, "Wow, wow." Suddenly, it's like a complete stranger is indirectly motivating you to become a part of that which you're facing. And then I really start dwelling into my inability to hide things intentionally. I mean, artistically speaking, to create a cover up by way of accumulating as many layers as I deem necessary, and still do it while I'm loyal to the initial vision. That initial vision is really all about um, a, a source for the motivation to continue. I just realize sometimes that it's just so friggin' hard to maintain that continuity. And it's not only a sense of continuity, it's continuity, period, on the surface. Your hands need to work all the time, your mind needs to be active all the time, your eyes need to really understand and inhale everything and digest and compartmentalize and store, and all this relationship between the now and the just a touch away from the past, and a complete looking forward to the future. so much that you need to do in order to not finding out that you're wasting your time because you're just like maybe kind of useless in the sense of of how you put things together, and how at the end of the day when you look at the numbers and what just happened, you're not really happy because you always thought you don't need a plan because you got it covered, and then you realize, well, you have a plan which is something natural built in within you, but then you have to have some kind of level of awareness, and that awareness, that means realism, inserting just the right amount of realism into any attempt, the alternative, the abstract, adding expressionistic adventure, impressionistic adventure, mixing the two, mixing the three, um, doing the proportion, reality 70, freestyle 30, freestyle 15, abstract 15, reality 70, and then 60, 20, 10, 5, 5, Uh, it all really works very well for me and with me with numbers, And of course, when you come from the Hebrew language, it has that value, and the magic resides behind the value of numbers and the value of the letters that the numbers suggest, and vice versa, the value of letters and the value of the numbers that the letter triggers. But it's just, I realized and I discovered that it's not numbers and letters or gestures or thoughts. They're just kind of hanging without you knowing what's really holding them in thin air, in midair. Um, and for a while at the very beginning, when I started actually painting paintings, I dwelled a lot about that. Oh man, I needed an answer. What's holding them there? Where's the hook? Where's the hook? For a while it was evident, then it disappeared. But they're still floating in midair, but they're not floating, they're hanging. So then later on, I realized I really I don't have to ask this question. And even if I ask this question, it doesn't have to be a question, it can be just wondering. And even when it's wondering, how about by way I practice the whole approach and the whole putting things together in order to continue justifying calling myself an artist, and also believing in the fact that I don't need to call myself anything. I just need to live the life that speaks for it and that defines it as clearly as one can imagine. That's where success lies. It's not like I speak of success as opposed to failure. I just speak of success as opposed to advancing, progressing, breaking through without making a, even a slight pause to celebrate or to recognize the achievement, because it's all a kind of a built-in rhythm into the accumulation that becomes a part of the of motion itself. There's no characteristics that says motion, and therefore here are the 738 ingredients embedded into making this that you witness, that you call motion. It's good to do. Maybe early on in the process, you want to really brush on your knowledge of the serial numbers and the departments and the titles and the neatness and uh, it, the ease of access and the availability. Being able to summoning, it's almost like a Siri service, but in a way that you cannot um, tell yourself a fabricated story. It's got to be somewhat accurate with that which you want to describe, that maybe you hope to achieve, or maybe you already achieved, and you're speaking of hoping to be able to maintain and to keep it. Because when it has the kind of strength that it has on its own, then you need to really almost at least equal that, if not, surpass it a little bit, is to be dominant a little bit, not much, just the right amount to tip the scale, and then you feel like you're buying time. That's what it is. Yesterday, I looked at the canvas, and that canvas that I looked at is the canvas that I took from a batch of canvases, and I put it on the easel. And this easel I received from a good friend, very old easel that has a story in itself. Forget about it. I can't begin to tell you. And then the canvas was there, and I said, I want my background. And then I took the colors, whatever. I share with you here 3 to, I don't know what is it, Ichispati, 3 to 5 minutes. And 3 different sizes of brushes. Paint was there available. It was instinctive. It was calculative. The more instinctive it was, the more calculative it was. The more calculative it was, the more instinctive it was. Go figure. But bottom line, the background is done. I go and I do other stuff, other things in the studio, creative, and I don't even go back to it. I kind of, as I go back and forth, because it's pretty, it's like a 40-foot space, whatever. And I see that canvas, and the canvas doesn't resemble the one that I just left 10 minutes ago, and I realize it's because it was dries fast. I used the kind of additives that expedite the process of the drying time. So as I was pushed out away from that which was familiar when I first made it, which was 10 minutes ago, actually gave me an opening. It's amazing how you find yourself excluded, rejected almost, but in the same token, that helps you and leads you to opening up into seeing things that otherwise no way in a million years that you can see, understand, realize, accept as an enlightening factor. So suddenly I saw the fact that the painting speaks its piece, and it tells me, I'm done. I want you to hold on to the pause, keep it longer. I want you to observe, but to observe the same thing, the same aspect of that which I want you to realize, that this observation open things up, close things up, but change them to help you realize that which is there, that you happen not to be able to see it because you don't look for it, and you don't even speculate that there is underneath layers and stories, and what you see and experience is a result of so many things that happened, and each one of them that happened was due to your willingness to engage, make decisions, be active, action, timing, everything. So and for a moment I had like a few minutes of bliss. I was like in a bliss. I was just enjoying the possibility that I knew that I will not allow to happen, because I had plans, and this realization that this can be just a done deal and beautiful, I accepted it and I understood it, but I couldn't accept it so much so that I would have had to leave it alone, because it was mine to be projected on by the plans that initially were put in place. So what happened is the train. Well, of course, I was going to go about my plan, but I had to give myself some extra time to enjoy it. It was great. It was just almost like in a twisted way, somewhat admiring myself, like looking at it and said, "Oh, you did so well here. Oh man, the brush strokes and how they coincide and coexist with one another, and how come there's complexity but there's no tension, there's realness, but there's also something very kind of lightweight, like fluffy. There's just so many opposites that are just blending in. I hate even using the word blending, just coming together, just exchanging notes. And you see greatness that has nothing to do with you. You're not responsible for it, but you just created the conditions. So even when it will show up from wherever it shows up, it will have an open door. It will have nothing standing in its way, even though it can just kick it away. But you don't want that thing to be pausing even for a second. It's on a mission. You got to make sure that that mission is going to be accomplished and fast and fury kind of thing in a very kind of positive, um, agreeable way. So then I pursued, and then I found myself with this particular thin brush that was something that I haven't done. I haven't held such a such a tiny, almost like 3, 4 hairs or something, and really getting ready to do something major because I wanted to elevate that background that suddenly looked as if it was good to go and ready and done. And it should do everything, and somehow I have to gather some bravery, guts to pursue to say, yeah, okay, I got you, but we got plans, we got stuff to do. So I'm elevating, I'm pushing it forward, and then it go as high as it can be while I'm pushing it forward, nevertheless. And I go with all these gestures of definition, and I define and I define. And the more I define, the more I reveal the beauty of that which I cover. Go figure. The more I kind of clear the air, the more I bury, the more I hide, the more I go over the space that supposedly just a minute ago was a good to go piece sent forth. But then what happens is because I came from the psyche of that sense of reward when you experience that moment of bliss, because it didn't just dissipate into thin air. You didn't allow it to just dissipate. You didn't allow it not to stay as it should in order for you to experience it, maybe investigate further and get what you need to get out of it as the artist in charge. What are you in charge of? No one is in the room, you're alone, but you're in charge. That's a whole relationship between that which we can talk about so much that happens to be so complex. The it itself that resides behind that which you really need as a must in order to engage in any medium of art. But what even more important than that is that once there's that set in motion button was pressed, the rules change abruptly, speedily, like wababam, done. You're already at the end and back maybe half a dozen times, and you didn't even realize that you're halfway towards placing the first step from that point where you awoken to, landed to, um, placed in. And so those gestures, those definitions that became gestures, that were gestures as they were engaged in the process of defining the light and dark spaces and all that. And sometimes you're serious, sometimes you're knowledgeable, sometimes you're empty, sometimes you're adamant, sometimes you're exuberant, sometimes you're over the top, sometimes you're completely flat, and so much more. And it's not only, yes, these are opposites, but when they go so much opposites, like never ending until the whole idea of the realization of opposites and the giving of opposites, they disappear. And you know better than to ask what just happened. I know better because I did that too many times. Then I realized as soon as I said that, then I had to go to the back of the line, start all over again. There's zero tolerance for sloppiness when it comes to join this group or to be accepted to this group, to be a part of this group. Which group I couldn't even begin to describe to you. But you should know which group I mean. You should know which department in the group that I mean, the department that I mean, that doesn't find it important uh, to 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 feel the necessity to belong to a certain equation that describes an entity that is independent by nature. Again, go figure. The more you overwhelm the surface, the less the chances are that you're actually getting away with that which you're accomplished. That happens to be maybe fixed, maybe not allowed to mess with, maybe out of touch. I mean, out of reach, and then the good thing is that as you go along and you make your decisions, you realize that these decisions are helpful and they're familiar. And you don't have to wonder why they're familiar. It's because they're your own decisions. You made the decisions. You created the timing that will go along with the decisions. You have brought it to a point where it 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 it's designed to be helpful and to be a a, a crucial a crucial ingredient in the accepting, loving, encouraging uh, motion that you and only you understand where is it now, where is it, what stage is it. You can add the numbers and the letters and the letters and the numbers, and you can create the scanning composition, so it can always tell you where, just in case you don't feel like sharing it verbally with anyone. You wanted to have it ready to go because it's important, because you realize what it is that you needed when you first started, and it wasn't available because, first of all, none of the people you know could even, you realized it then, now you're responsible for creating, when you have friends, that human material that will be exciting to be with a person, because they're like, they would just go like this, wow, that was, and the other person said, wow, that was great, that is great, wait a second, it's just never ending, it's wonderful, wow, wow, yeah, whoa. And when two people look at each other, they can be really silly and making fool of themselves and whatnot, but if they know about each other, how capable each other is, like, there's some people that I know personally, especially before I became a painter. I used to look at some people and say, wow, this artist, I wouldn't mess with him. Wow, this poet, I wouldn't mess with her, because I have a recollection of excellence about these people. And I knew already early on, long before I had any aspirations, that I would ever one day hold the brush, nevertheless be a good artist, successful, happening, prolific. You know already early on, without having to be a painter, how much that it takes. A lot. It takes a lot to bring this to life, that which you experience and that which you as an observer saying, wait a second, this is, wow, this is beautiful, appealing, tasty, everything, accommodating, just, enlightening, everything, so much. So you couldn't see that person the next day or after you attended, or some other time after, but you attended to a couple of shows of theirs and all this, and when you see the person, the recollection of that experience, the things that you observed and you appreciated, respected, suddenly that person is in front of you. So first of all, I always felt like I need to come across as something that they will remember maybe later, that is nice to chat with. Forget about now deep things. I wanted to be the person that when they see me, as I see them and feel all these feelings, they will remember that it's fun and it's cool to chat with this guy, because last time when we had the conversation, it was fairly interesting and we just kind of left it hanging, and so they will realize this is their opportunity to continue from where they left off, because they can rely on what, almost like a guarantee that it's going to be a good conversation. that's where I wanted to be, and actually that's where I succeeded to be in people's minds. That when they saw me, uh, they thought, "Oh, he's someone who comes that we know appreciates art and has an opinion or two about that happens to be intelligent about what he observes." And especially if I spoke to artists and their work was there, and it was just like a direct. Sometimes they get this kind of feeling. Say, wait a second, you just said something. So I never thought about it this way, and just when people appreciate it because they tell you, "Oh my God, you just did something now that will make me think about something, and inevitably will help me to make some changes." And then guess what? When artists that happen to be gifted artists start making changes and all this, you know you're going to benefit from it. Making changes, yeah, because they're good. They already proved themselves. They broke through. They achieved. They're kind of going up. They don't have to be like the most capable of the generation and super talented. They're just like doing the thing appropriately. So you can only associate climbing up, and you climb with them in order to be able to understand and to enjoy and to place an opinion, to form an opinion, to benefit from it, because maybe you're not a painter, but you're a poet, and you're a pianist, or you're a drummer. It all makes sense. We all live in the same town, creative people and all that. But then for me, it was okay. Wow, I think next time I'm gonna write, I'm gonna think more like certain styles, certain poets that I like. Maybe will come into my mind, to my thoughts, and will influence me. And then maybe I'll write in more than one language. Just things like that. These are major things. These are major things because we as poets, we as musicians, we as painters, we look constantly, whether we are aware of it or not, whether we know it or not, for things that will just make us think different than we do now. Not to forget about what is happening in our lives now and what is there that creates the meaning behind it. No, we're talking about having that remaining safely where it is, because that's already something you accomplished. That spells a portion of who you are. Then you go and you change because now you have to taste the ground, and now you have to reinvestigate balance, and now you have to kind of think of spiritual things and maybe some yoga that you never accepted into your life, maybe just tai chi. Maybe it's just like the chi and talking and compressing, and then just doing all the right thing, mentally, physically, emotionally, emotionally, spiritually, technically, physically, religiously, whatever. Yeah, you know you you come in and out constantly from uh, from the, like, putting everything you have, putting much more than the process really needs and requires, because that's just who you are. And so that kind of emptying and then withdrawing and then digesting and then refueling and then emptying, withdrawing and pausing and realizing and reloading and refilling and emptying, and then you manage to describe all of it with wonderful words and choices of kind of sentences that really portray in the way that you want, that you think, that you need for that particular moment. And it's just, and you can, many times I approached friends of mine that were artists long before I painted my first painting and showed them a poem. And I said, maybe even if we don't know, maybe this is something about your talent, something about your medium, about your creativity, your capability, your creation. And I said that because they're my friends. I want to tell them, if it was a stranger, I want you to read my poem or hear me recite it for you. That's different. But usually I will Um, I won't tell you the whole story. It's a poem, it's a poem. But then for them, say, you know what? I'm going to kick in a 5 minute, a quick summary, my prosaic, straightforward, alternative, experimental discharge of a spur of the moment. Here it is. This is the and whoop, and we're gonna whoop, and again whoop, 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 and then I say, okay, I guess I'll see you later, and they, you know that you left them with something that is beneficial because it comes from that understanding of yourself, you know. If, for example, I remember when I was 7, 8, 9, 10, you know, those years, and there was in my classroom, and there's in the class, there's one who can really draw, paint, whatever, or just do something unusual, you know, great with some musical instruments, some, you know, and then we thought they were like gifted, you know, oh, they're so gifted. And today I realize, you know, if I would have had, let's say, I had loving parents, even though things could get crazy sometimes, but still, love is love. If my father or anybody for that sake, there was maybe a figure in my life in that tender age who would have just approached me and say, "Hi, man, yeah, it's okay. Allow yourself to get busy creatively, explain to me what does it mean, artistic? What is the meaning of art, arts, artistic, uh, this kind of artful, this kind of expansion of wealth, of creativity that if you just poke it a little bit, it will never leave you. Never leave you. And maybe 90% of the time you wouldn't even know what the heck is going on. You don't know what's happening to you. You know it feels good. That's all you kind of want to know. Because you're 10 and you're 12 and you're 15 and you're 20 and you're still tender. But you come with deposits that later on, once you decide to commit, not due to a talent that you bear or whatever, not due to something like because you want to see what's what, it's because you know that this is the way it is. That means this is the way it is, means this is the way it became, this is the way it's going to become, period. Because work with a future that is so near, like just 2 hours ahead, you know, kind of thing. It's like you go like this, it's you catch up with it, you know, you can always bring it back home type of thing. That's right, that's a plus, at least in my immediate zone of placement. Somebody could have come to me and just hug me and kiss me and say, "My little precious artist." Even if I never put anything together ever or showed any sign of anything that in any way, shape, or form was artistic or suggested that it could have been, zero. But still, someone will hug me and say, "My little precious artist." How much I trust the glory of your future. How much I want to reveal to you, to discover together with you that which I already know about your level of preciousness, my precious, talented, gifted artist. And I never wrote a poem in my life, never painted a painting in my life, never showed the first signs of playing drums or any other musical instrument, just being a boy. There was maybe a little bit hyperactive, which was great for me, but drove my mother crazy. But nothing. It was like a comfortable nothingness that accompanied my young life, you know, from age 5 probably to age 11. It was something very adamant, very hot and cold and sad and happy, and I want and I get and I'm missing and I need and just experiencing that very special love from your mom that just gives you everything you want, everything you need. And she's the mom, the dad, everything. Even though there is a dad, but she's the one who would say, um, yeah, when your dad talks to you, of course, this is your dad, but but don't listen to him because I can tell you all about everything anyway. She was like this. Now, guess what? That did a lot to me. Where where she did the role of a dad and a mom. Not that my father didn't do the role of a dad, but without hurting the place that my dad had in my life. That takes friggin' beyond genius, beyond talent, beyond the beyond itself in order to be able to do that. To tell you, cut the crap. I got everything you need. Just sit tight. I'm gonna whisper it into your ear and then let it kind of filter through your heart. And it's there forever, embedded and printed and carved into the right place in your brain forever and ever. You will not be able to benefit for it suddenly, even for a minute, until the day you die. Maybe you take it to the afterlife, and who knows? Who wants to know? Who cares? Well, yeah, maybe later on, after I die, I will worry about dying, after I will cease from being in the way that we know, and maybe I'll start thinking about ceasing to be and becoming something that I already am in the second life. And maybe it's not the second life, maybe it's life number 108 or something. So, yeah, so my mother would be like the one that will say, your dad means well. And my dad was a strong person, like and smart, and the kind that doesn't want to tell you, listen, better watch it. You're dealing with someone who's smart. No, his strength already told you. Keep the safe distance for your own sake. You know, not in a threatening way, just in a kind of way where it leaves no doubt for you, but to understand instantly, immediately. Okay, what am I understanding? I don't really quite understand what am I that I'm understanding, but I'm realizing and understanding that I'm actually understanding something, maybe something new in addition to my understanding. And she will say, I got all you take. No, I got everything it takes for you to know the things that you need to know. So my mom is there and I'm holding her hand and I'm like 6, 5, 7, 8. And she will still hold my hand. She loves me very much. And she says, don't worry, Mama is here. She will tell you about everything. But making sure that I realize that it's not because you don't have a dad. It's not because you have a dad and your dad doesn't have what it takes. And it's not because I can replace what dad means in your life and gives you so you don't need a dad. None of that. None of that. None of that. She just wants to tell you that in addition to what you have, you can have also so many other things from your mom other than just being a perfect, loving, to no end mom for you. Now that take and this is not just like out of nowhere. This is calculated, meticulously put together by my mom. I know it now because I know how it is to raise kids. And you look and you say, wait a second. And then even if you breathe in order to pause, I mean, even then there are some questions and some challenges. So you may not even sure that you can actually get to this and hold your breath because you just didn't breathe high enough and you had to give halfway through. Things like weird like this that when you think of your mom and remember her, you realize how easy it was for her to hold her breath. And because holding your breath, having that ability spilled an incredible chances of survival on all platforms possible, all levels of you name it, from the physical through the spiritual, through the unknown and whatnot. All you need to know, all that might at some way, in some place, in some time, be benefit for you at that particular point to help you advance as you are always advancing. So that was my mom. But then in the same token, she couldn't hug me and tell me, my little precious artist, you are my little precious artist, and really hug me tight and telling me like this. Instead, it would be just like any other kid, looking at that person in class, a little girl or something that can draw so perfectly, and she knew. And early on, when I saw that, and I was envying, and I wasn't feeling so good about it to envy someone's talent. But what I realized is that even then, I was understanding the secret and the strength and the power behind the choice of color. And in addition to that, the proximity of colors to one another. So that means choosing is one task and one level of success. Saying, okay, you know what? How about these 6, 7 colors paint ready here? This is one I need for the painting. But this is not something that I'm going to put in place in order to leave some room for changes. You say, oh, maybe I should add some white. Like when you're already deep into the process of that, that's not going to happen. Now, obviously, of course, when I improvise and when I do other things, of course, I can change my mind, and I do probably every second. But when you have everything put to go, I already realized it once I started painting, how 40 years earlier, when I was paying attention and we were too busy envying someone's talent, I still paid attention to. I said, oh my God, these colors that he or she are choosing are just immaculate. So, me, as young as I was, 7, 8, 9, 10, I began to understand how important it is for an artist to realize how crucial that knowledge is of color. So if you're able, if you even desire, if you want even, but if you do, then this is what one needs to do in order to open up that channel into that journey. So I used to just see them choosing color, and I realized they can never go wrong. How is it possible? They can never go wrong. How is it possible? They can never go wrong. It's impossible that it's possible, but it's possible. How is it possible? So, believe you me, 5, 10, 15, 20, growing, becoming a young adult, and going with my artistic emptiness, because it was empty, even though, yes, I touched and I just started writing poetry because I was influenced by my sister, and my sister could write. She was the poet of the family. Yes, in my family, it's completely nuts sometimes, completely out of control. But still, we had poets. My father used to build musical instrument. Don't, don't even ask. So, yeah, I was 20. I just started to write poetry because my sister provoked me, and she knew what she was doing, because she knew that will cause me to write. And she was the first one to maybe tell me, without knowing that she's telling me, don't worry what it is that you're writing. It's okay, just freaking write. Right. and let's see if you can. Oh, she added that. Let's see if you can. And then I said, and because she said many times, go right, and I never did. But now she added, let's see if you can. Of course, this. So what? So I before I even wrote my first poem, I asked my sister, so what is there like a is there can be a bad poem? Like that means you can write a poem that is and then you write another poem, or two people write poems and and so what? There's good and bad. There's better and worse. That's what you're telling me? And she said, unfortunately, yes. Let's see if you can. So I said that. So that means that means in order to prove you wrong, I can write anything and you'll be wrong and I'll be right. She said yes. So I went into the room. I remember this is so I still want to tell you when I was 20 and what it really meant in getting the answers of how is it possible with the colors. These were my revelations. This was my early and most sturdy education that I earned by this process. So my sister said, if you can. And I went to the room and I wrote two medium-sized poems and one aphorism without even knowing that I did it. And I wrote there about this mouse that was like munching into the department of annoyance, and we were like so taken by it that we had to abandon the that the, the most important thing that really keeping us together as entities and as a group, art, the artistic process. And my sister was like, what did she say what about that I discovered? It's not about what I wrote and how I wrote. It's the fact that I instantly started using metaphors. I mean, I went into the poem and the second, third word already triggered a metaphor, and I went into it and traveled. So my talented sister, God bless her soul, hope she will live to be 120, said, I'm not joking you, I'm impressed. That stayed with me, stays with me until now. And there is a non-wavering feeling that I'm getting out of it that is eternal. It will never fade away. Because the right person may be in the right time, happened to be in the right time. I guess it's always in the right time when something so meaningful happens. Told me, I'm actually impressed. So, yeah. So when I was 20 and I realized that I'm wondering on something that I happen to realize that happens to be pretty important. And then even though I never came with answers really, it was just kind of searching because it's an ongoing search of mine in an arena, in a medium that I'm not familiar with, hands-on meaning. I mean, I can see, if I can see art, I can place my opinion. It can be not professional, but it could be something that others can, or you will be able to relate to. I wouldn't be completely out of touch. So, but in the same token, I'm beginning to understand that I'm gaining a sense of routine. This is routine in my life. This is a part that I cannot be surprised how come this is present in my life and why it spells progress every time I'm coherent and I'm actualizing those thoughts and those sensations. And I want to bring it to a point, maybe I didn't know it then, but I know now that in the future, this what I'm wondering about and of now will serve as a tool, a crucial, vital, important tool in the early stages of my introduction to the world of painting paintings. Call it whatever you want, and improving and causing people to confirm and to bring joy to their lives, and immediately making them understand that this is something they cannot do themselves. Well, not in the present time, Not unless they want to friggin' slave as they should forever and ever. And then, yes, they will be there where I am, and they will cause other people to feel the way they're causing me to feel right now, or I'm causing them to feel right now. So, already then, I knew and I noticed that my eyes had an understanding of their own. You know, in the department of, yes, that's the way I like it. Leave it alone. Let it be. And it's not like you gave instructions. Oh, put that thing there, add more yellow, get that square there. There. No, you just like observe and stop it. This is good to go. Mother Nature presented its options, endless and aplenty, and you freeze it. This is your talent to capture and to be able to be brave enough to make decisions, sometimes decisions that are just pretty like pretty scary, like because it really means a lot. It really means that much. And so I was trying to utilize the relationship by way of cross implementing between mediums. There's no way you can separate that the whatever the paradiddle of that double stroke roll, like wait, it's wait like 1 second. So okay, this is double stroke paradiddle double stroke. So if I did this, 2/4 bar, 10 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4 1. So okay, this understanding is just as close as anyone can ever get to a point where you literally accomplishing writing a poem, literally almost done before you even wrote the first word or the first letter. Like literally, this is not a word game or head game. This is real. So immediately I saw that, just as I saw the relationship between colors and proximity and placement, and the importance of that in the achievement of that level of coherence that should reside above each painting, especially coherently designed and placed by you, the artist. I mean, you're talking about treasures available to the world. Talking about preserving the light as close as you can, not even the 1/1000th first layer of the first layer, but still enough light, you're happy. I'm happy with as if I tell you what's enough light for me, you will be very surprised. I remember some major people came to my studio once, it was just like I needed some acknowledgement anyway, so they came and then I realized that I didn't add lights in order to maybe pretend as if I work with lights, and I work in my space. It's dark. It's dark every, along the years. The light bulbs of the thing, was broken. So now I'm down to like 2 light bulbs and all this. So they thought that we just entered and I'm going to turn on the lights. There's no lights. So what I realized accidentally, really accidentally, people that were super knowledgeable, they were silent suddenly because they really interrogated me and said, "This is all the work here you painted here with this light." And I realized, yeah, well, of course it's going to be a surprise. Took me years to ignore the necessity of light while I'm working. Yeah, yeah, light is important, but I know what I'm doing. I, I know this red or yellow or the mixture of paint that I make, and because I know them, because I've seen them in super light. I don't need it right now because it's a deterrence. Because I'm going to spend too much time admiring this red that I already did enough admiration. That's why I'm using it, and on and on and on. So you save a little bit here, you spare a little bit there, this, then today this is just friggin' treasures are piling up, and this come a full circle in order to meet you. And when you meet again, you realize what is it that you're encountering. You don't forget. You don't say, "Please remind me again." No, no, not again. You know what's happening. You know what you're experiencing. You know what's showing up in front of you. You know how long ago it was the last time that you saw it, and that you know what actually was responsible to build it and to form it the way you experience it and expect from it to be, and to still maintain that level of integrity. Artistic integrity spells such a high level of sensitivity, and that leads to regard and care and all all the pleasing factors that lead us to witness something and say, "Oh, this is so pleasing. This is fantastic. This is great. I'm enjoying. I'm happy." Things like that. And then you realize that all you need to do is just continue in doing what you're doing the way you're doing. And I'm not trying to sell anyone anything. I'm just kind of reflecting, really, sitting here especially when I'm supposed to have a guest and all this, and shifting into the zone of doing a monologue is something that helps me. I mean, it does help me. Later on, I'm going to go to the studio. I'm not going to take these moments here as for granted. I will not. I will not take it for granted. There's no way, because it's just because it's because this is my safe deposit box. I put a dollar and a dollar and a dollar. At some point, it's going to be a lot of money. But anyway, so I go back to the hands-on reality, and I sense an additional muscle buildup somewhere, a little bit, but I sense it. I know. But then this is something you do every day, a little bit or a lot, still nevertheless every day, and it's just like everything's like happening, even though you come across as if you reside comfortably in your balance in the center, in the all that. Just like Tai Chi comes across as so absolutely lovey-dovey, but it's all about compromising the integrity and the dignity of that skeleton, and reshaping and recracking and taking the life away from you, and all this, and just relax at the end like nothing happened. I was told by my Tai Chi teacher many years ago, because she didn't teach me right away the aspects of push hands. It was more like, yes, just cruise like butterflies, Shoo. And I couldn't understand. I remember she used to jump at me and hold me and push my chest inward. And I said, "What is you?" She tried. She said, Your chest is so stubborn. I want it to be agile." I said, "But you're gonna break it." She said, "If that's what it takes, that's what we're gonna do." Anyway, years later, I realized what she was trying to do. God bless her soul. I'm speaking of Claire Hooton. I'm sure a lot of people know she was. Tai Chi master. Love it, love it, love it. What years I had with her. 5, 6 years of private lessons. And I was like as stiff as, I was so embarrassed in my stiffness, even though I said, "Why am I so stiff?" I was like in my early mid 30s or something. I was young, everything. Why am I so stiff? And then I did martial arts for many years, and I said, why am I so? I was very surprised. But you know what? Then she was doing this to me, and I said, wow. And she said, we need to pretend. Tai Chi allows us to pretend, even though it's a very deadly, dangerous martial arts. People, that's how you kill someone. That's how you block, defend, and then also use it as inflicting damage. Yeah. She said, well, I'm not going to go through that with you. Let's just dwell in that beautiful and understand the relationship of chakras and how the body is working with the chi, give and take, take and give, and just building trust. And you know what to expect. You don't want to leave too much room for surprises, even though surprises are good, but the right amount, something like that. Oh boy, I think it went over. Did it? Unbelievable. Anyway, we're going to be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday and as much as we're here this morning of February 12th, year 2024. And we're here with the Hello Show. My name is Haim Mizrahi. Keep up the good spirits. We'll see you soon.